messed up my day off.
Your time is over, Abuelito. My time is just starting.
A few miles outside Las Vegas, a policeman sat in his patrol car eating donuts. A car suddenly sped past him at an unbelievable speed. He radioed the dispatcher and reported what he had seen.
Tell him some smartass is flying a jet plane around out here with no lights on.
The next day in Somerton, Arizona, Sheriff Ray arrived as the town prepared for a local match. A man greeted him and asked if he planned to attend the game. Ray refused, saying he disliked crowds and preferred to watch over the town. The man noticed Ray's bowling shoes. Ray explained they were part of his cover. The man handed Ray his car keys and told him to move the vehicle in an emergency since it was parked in a dangerous spot. Ray went to a nearby diner and was warmly greeted by the people inside. The man behind the counter poured him coffee, and Ray enjoyed his morning. He noticed two suspicious truck drivers leaving the diner. He told them to drive safely, but their behavior unsettled him, so he followed them. Ray later found two of his officers practicing shooting with a man named Lewis, using hanging meat as a target. They grew nervous when they saw him, believing he was supposed to be off duty. Ray stepped out of his car and yelled at them.
Can someone tell me what 2/3 of my force is doing out here firing rockets at a slab of beef?
One officer had injured himself during the practice. Ray asked Lewis to show his gun license. While inspecting it, he realized the weapon belonged to a museum he had never heard of. He warned the officers about the suspicious truck drivers and gave them the license plate number. He told them to keep an eye out since they admitted they had little to do and had been causing trouble. Elsewhere, one of the truck drivers, Burrell, learned that a farmer had refused to let them use his land. Furious, Burrell went to confront the farmer himself. He introduced himself and explained they wanted the land to shoot a commercial. The old farmer ordered him off the property. Burrell tried to persuade him by offering money, but the farmer refused. He fired his rifle to scare Burrell away. Burrell walked back. His men shot him without hesitation.
That's your decision.
At the police station, an officer named Sarah argued with her ex-boyfriend Frank, who was being held for theft. She yelled at him, saying it was embarrassing to arrest her own ex. Frank, still bitter about their breakup, claimed it was not his fault. Sarah asked how he had ended up this way, reminding him that he had once been a great athlete. Frank snapped back and asked why she cared if they were no longer together.
You were smart, you were popular, you were a great athlete.
The other officers soon returned to the station. One of them, Jerry, greeted Frank casually and even suggested letting him out of the cell. Another officer, Mike, disagreed and reminded him that their boss had ordered Frank to stay locked up for the weekend. Jerry then asked Mike to help him look up a license plate.
I'm just doing this once, okay?
No, I know.
Pay attention.
Later, Jerry met with Ray and shared what he had found. He explained that the driver was named Thomas Burrell and that his record was clean. Ray praised him for the good work. Jerry then admitted he was tired of working in Somerton, calling it boring and uneventful. He asked Ray to help him find a job in LA. Ray agreed and said he would help if Jerry truly wanted it.
But if that's what you really want, of course I'll help you.
In Las Vegas, Special Agent John gathered his team for a new mission. He explained they were transporting a dangerous prisoner named Gabriel Cortez to death row. He warned them that Cortez was a powerful cartel leader and extremely dangerous. The team was told to stay under the radar as they began the transfer. During the transport, the vehicle carrying Gabriel was suddenly grabbed from above and lifted into the air. Inside the car, Gabriel began fighting the officer guarding him. John spotted the situation and ordered his team to shut down the building the car was being pulled toward. The agents opened fire, but their shots failed. A woman standing on the vehicle overpowered them. On the rooftop, Gabriel was freed by his men. They slid through ropes to escape to a nearby building. By the time the agents reached the roof, Gabriel was already gone. John called for aerial support as the team spread out to search the area. In another building, Gabriel changed into clean clothes that had been prepared for him. Outside, a man wearing clothes similar to Gabriel's was captured while running through the streets, distracting the police. Soon after, Gabriel encountered two officers, McKay and Ellen. He and his men disarmed them. Gabriel shot and killed McKay and took Ellen with him. John arrived moments later and found McKay's body. It became clear that Ellen had been taken.
Man down, I got it.
At the station, the man wearing orange was interrogated. He explained that he supported the Dutch team, and that was why he was dressed that way. John challenged him, asking why he was running through the streets at 3 in the morning. The man shrugged and said it was Vegas, and people did whatever they wanted.
It's Vegas, man.
In Somerton, Christy from the diner called Ray and explained that her milk delivery farmer had not shown up. Ray told her it was not a police matter, but Christy said she did not know who else to call. The farmer was old, and she feared he might have had a heart attack or worse. She apologized for calling so early. Ray said he would send someone to check on him and ended the call.
All right, bye-bye.
John and his team reviewed surveillance footage and identified the car Gabriel was using. It was a stolen Corvette 01 with more than 1,000 horsepower. John asked how they planned to stop it. One officer suggested blowing it up, but John refused, saying Ellen might still be inside. The alert was sent out to the FBI with details of the vehicle.
This one is a specially modified show car. It's a monster on wheels.
On the streets, police set up checkpoints and inspected passing cars. Suddenly, they heard a loud engine roaring in the distance. The stolen Corvette burst through the line and sped into the night. Patrol cars immediately gave chase. Meanwhile, Jerry and Sarah were sent by Ray to check on Farmer Parson. As they approached, Jerry called out and warned that they were police and not to fire at them. There was no response. Sarah tried the door and found it open. The two officers stepped inside. Gabriel sped through the Las Vegas streets, pushing the car harder as the night closed in. Back at the station, John studied the route and realized Gabriel was heading south. The team quickly concluded he was likely trying to cross into Mexico.
He thinks he's untouchable. That's how his mind works. He wants to be behind the wheel.
John explained to his team that Gabriel had been a racer since his teenage years and that he enjoyed the chase. He then ordered a roadblock to stop Gabriel from going any farther. As they discussed their next move, John received a call. It was Gabriel using Ellen's phone. Gabriel told him this would end in one of two ways. Either John stopped his men from blocking the road, or Gabriel would kill a lot of people.
Pull your man back and stay the out of my way, or your agent is roadkill.
Gabriel threatened to kill Ellen. John demanded to speak to her and heard her voice on the line, confirming she was being held hostage. John promised he would save her. Gabriel then hung up, warning that he had made his choice clear.
If you try to stop me, a lot of people who don't have to are gonna die.
Ray received a call from Jerry, informing him that Farmer Parson had been found dead. On the streets of Las Vegas, the FBI began tracking Gabriel from the air using a helicopter. Ahead of him, police officers set up a roadblock, waiting to trap him.
Coming up on the Arizona border.
Gabriel called his men and told them to get ready, saying he was getting close. He turned to Ellen and told her to enjoy the show as he pushed the car forward. As the police waited in silence, two vehicles suddenly sped toward them. Gunfire erupted as the attackers opened fire and overwhelmed the officers. Many of the police were shot down. Moments later, a massive truck barreled through and smashed the vehicle blocking the road, clearing the path. As they drove past the chaos, Ellen stared in shock at the bodies of the fallen officers lining the street. The officers in the helicopter notified John and the others that Gabriel had broken through the barricade and was still moving forward. Ray called Jerry and told him not to touch anything since it was now a crime scene. Jerry agreed and said they would wait for him, even though they had already touched several things. When Ray arrived, Mike suggested it looked like a burglary gone wrong. Ray asked if they had checked for tire tracks. They admitted they had not, so Ray sent Jerry and Sarah to look for them.
Did anyone check for tire tracks yet?
Mike led Ray to the body and showed him the wound. After examining the clean shot, Ray said it was not fired from a pistol. Back on the road, Gabriel transferred $3 million to Ellen's account for her help. As the car sped faster, she asked to be untied. Gabriel agreed and tossed her the key.
Oops.
Sorry.
Gabriel accelerated even more. The helicopter chased after him, but he suddenly stopped and vanished from their sight. The helicopter crew notified John and the others that they had lost track of Gabriel. John became furious. Outside the house, Ray found the tractor Parson had been driving before he was killed. Seeing the blood on it, Ray concluded that Parson was murdered outside and his body was later moved indoors.
He was killed outside. His body was moved inside after the fact.
The agents informed John that there was no way for Gabriel to cross the border since it had been heavily reinforced the previous year. John disagreed and said Gabriel was still moving forward with a plan. One agent suggested that Gabriel might try to cross the border through Somerton Junction. John agreed and decided to call the sheriff. He contacted Ray, and Ray answered while inspecting the area.
Yeah,
Sheriff Owens?
it's me. Who am I talking to?
John informed Ray about a fugitive who had escaped FBI custody. He said he would send reinforcements, but asked Ray to keep an eye out in the meantime. Ray replied that he was tied up for a while and then hung up. Ray assumed the situations might be connected. Ray began to suspect that the men he had seen at the diner could be linked to the fugitive now on the run.
First the guys at the diner, now this. It's all connected.
Ray called Jerry, who reported that they had followed a tire truck and spotted people working on something nearby. Jerry said they were about to check it on foot. Ray warned them to stay back and wait for him. Sarah took the phone and told Ray that something big was happening. At the same time, Jerry moved toward a man approaching them. Jerry drew his weapon and ordered the man to stop, but the man shot him first. Sarah immediately dove for cover behind their car. The men opened fire on them. Sarah returned fire as Jerry, wounded, retreated from the attack. The man's boss, Burrell, ordered them to turn off the lights and switch to their night vision goggles. Sarah and Jerry were left in complete darkness while the others tracked their movements. Sarah asked Jerry if he was all right and told him to move toward her. As he tried to reach her, one of the men shot him again. Sarah fired back blindly into the dark night. As one of the men moved in to finish Jerry, Ray suddenly burst onto the scene and ran over the attacker. He shot 2 more men, then drove towards Sarah. She shouted at him to help Jerry, and Ray covered her as they moved together toward him. Mike appeared and opened fire, giving Sarah the time she needed to get Jerry into Ray's car. They managed to escape before one of the men could reach the vehicle. Ray rushed toward the hospital as Sarah stayed with Jerry and tried to keep him conscious.
Careful. Your uniform blood stains take forever to scrub out.
On the way, Jerry spoke weakly about Frank being jealous of Sarah for caring about him. Ray realized Jerry was losing too much blood. When they reached the hospital, Jerry was already dead. Sarah broke down in tears, and Ray held Jerry and said goodbye one last time. Sarah told Frank the news. She said Jerry's last words were asking her to go easy on him. Burrell called Gabriel and told him the cops had caused problems. Gabriel warned him to do his job properly and stop complaining. Burrell agreed, and Gabriel hung up. Ray spoke with John and told him the fugitive would try to escape using a narrow bridge under construction in his town. John asked how he was sure. Ray replied that he had personally seen them building it.
They're building a mobile assault bridge across that canyon.
Oh, really? You think so?
I know so.
Ray suggested that the SWAT team arrive early so they could stop the fugitive from escaping. When Ray asked who the fugitive was, John told him it was Gabriel Cortez. Ray exploded in anger and shouted at John, demanding to know why he had not said that sooner. He said knowing that earlier could have saved his deputy's life.
My deputy would still be alive if I would have known that.
John alerted his team that Gabriel was heading toward Somerton Junction. Inside the Corvette, Ellen asked Gabriel what his plan was, warning that a SWAT team could already be waiting ahead. Gabriel told her he was not afraid of them. He shared a story about his niece trying to kill him. She hesitated, and he killed her instead. He said that was how he survived, by not being scared of death.
Death doesn't come when you expect it. Driving a race car.
He then accelerated and drove straight past the SWAT vehicles. Suddenly, he turned back and swerved into one of the SWAT cars, launching it into the air. The second SWAT car crashed into the first, giving Gabriel the chance to escape without being captured. Ray told his officers that the SWAT team was not coming and they were on their own. They asked who was going to stop Gabriel, and Ray said it would be them. Mike hesitated and warned that Gabriel had an entire army behind him. He said it was not a fight they could win alone.
Cortez, he's out of my league. He's got an army.
Ray said he would understand if they chose not to fight, but he was going after them himself for killing Jerry. Sarah stepped forward and said she was with him. As they prepared to leave, Frank asked Ray to release him, arguing that Ray needed more men on his side. Ray asked Frank if he was still a good shooter. Frank said he was. When Ray hesitated and asked if he was really willing to fight with them, Frank said he had never quit on his friends.
Consider yourself deputized.
I won't let you down.
The four of them agreed to take on Gabriel together. Back at the station, John reviewed the surveillance footage. He ordered one of his agents to run financial checks on everyone in the office, believing someone on the inside had tipped Gabriel off. Sarah went to Ray and admitted she had been terrified when they were under fire with Jerry. Ray told her that fear was normal. He said he was even more scared now than she was. Sarah felt relieved knowing he shared her fear.
I'm probably more afraid than you are right now.
Gabriel sped toward Somerton Junction as John and his team began pulling satellite images of the area. When Ray asked if his team was ready, Mike said they did not have enough weapons. Ray said he had an idea and took them to Lewis. Ray explained the plan, and Lewis agreed on 2 conditions. He wanted to be deputized like Frank and allowed to keep his favorite gun. Ray agreed. Together, they began selecting weapons for the fight ahead. Lewis showed them around the museum, and they selected the weapons they needed, including his prized 1939 Vickers gun. Ray ordered them to gather as many vehicles as possible to block the road, and they set out at once. Elsewhere, the FBI team boarded a plane bound for Somerton Junction.
Border Patrol's putting a team together, but they won't be there for over an hour.
National Guard?
Longer.
When they reached town, Ray ordered Lewis, Frank, and Sarah to block Asamora. He and Mike split off to warn the townspeople to stay inside. Ray went to the diner and warned the people to go home, saying they were waiting for their food and were not afraid of death. Ray gave up, told them to stay away from the windows, and then left.
We just ordered breakfast.
It's for your own safety.
Meanwhile, Lewis, Frank, and Sarah placed a truck across the road and planned to add more vehicles. Instead, Lewis cut down a pole and dropped it onto the vehicle to block the path completely. John spotted a newly built bridge in Somerton Junction through the satellite images. He asked one of his agents about Sheriff Ray. The agent explained that Ray had once been an officer, but after a mission where nearly all his colleagues were killed and he was the sole survivor, he left and eventually became sheriff in Somerton.
In 1988, Owens joined the LAPD. He trained under their elite tactical division.
Mike blocked the road through town using several cars. Sarah radioed Ray and told him that Asamora had been secured and blocked. Burrell and his men arrived in town and saw the cars blocking the road. Burrell ordered some of his men to inspect the area. As they moved forward, Christy walked into the street and demanded to know why the road was blocked when she saw Mike. Mike shouted at her to run back into the diner.
Get off the street, baby!
Why are you hiding behind a car?
I could kill for that ass.
Burrell raised his weapon toward her. Mike stepped out and opened fire to protect her. He drew the gunman's attention and pulled Christy behind the parked cars blocking the road. Keeping his fire steady, Mike shouted at her to run for the diner. She sprinted inside as he continued shooting to distract the men.
Best you got!
Burrell and his men opened fire on Mike, forcing him to take cover behind a car. Moments later, Burrell ordered his men to bring a shotgun. They blasted the vehicle shielding Mike, tearing it apart. Surprisingly, Mike survived. He walked out of the wreckage and opened fire on Burrell and his men. They began to retreat, but a gunman from a nearby building shot Mike. Sarah saw it happen.
All clear.
From her position on the old hotel roof, she returned fire and killed the man in the building. Sarah radioed Ray and told him that Mike was down. Moments later, Ray reappeared with Frank, driving a school bus. They opened fire on Burrell and his men. Ray manned the Vickers gun and cut down most of Burrell's crew.
Welcome to Somerton.
Gunfire erupted toward the school bus. Sarah radioed Ray and told him the shots were coming from the rooftop next to the diner. Ray sprinted inside the diner and demanded to know how to reach the roof. The people inside quickly pointed him to the access route.
Come my God, Sheriff, you've been shot. Somebody help him.
I see it. Hold on.
Don't worry, it's just glass.
On the ground, Frank spotted a man running toward the building where Sarah was positioned. He looked for a radio to warn her, then realized he did not have one. He immediately sprinted toward her. Meanwhile, Ray reached the rooftop and took out the gunman who had been firing from above. Frank shot the man from behind, but the attacker turned and fired back. Sarah saw what was happening and opened fire as well. The man kept shooting as his attention was split between them. After a brief exchange, Frank finally took him down. When it was over, Frank and Sarah looked at each other and shared a quick kiss. One of Burrell's men opened fire on Lewis, but Lewis responded quickly and took him down with a single shot. At the same time, a gunman burst out of a nearby house where an elderly woman lived and tried to shoot Ray. The old woman fired from behind and killed the attacker herself. Ray thanked her briefly, then rushed back toward Lewis.
Put the hurt on him, Ray!
Okay.
Lewis was shot when he tried to reach for Mike. Burrell opened fire, and Ray returned shots. At the same time, Frank and Sarah moved in to reach Lewis. They pulled him to safety and rushed him into the diner to help him. Ray pushed forward, firing at Burrell's last known position. When he reached the spot, Burrell was gone. Burrell opened fire on Ray from the school bus. Ray dove behind a parked car. As he took cover, he spotted a pistol lying beneath the bus. Burrell prepared to fire again. Ray grabbed the pistol and fired a quick shot from below the bus, grazing Burrell's ear. Ray moved fast, climbing onto the bus and stepping inside. He ordered Burrell to drop his weapon. Burrell looked dizzy and lowered his gun, then reached for another one. Ray fired without hesitation and killed him. Gabriel called Burrell, but Ray answered instead. Gabriel immediately realized that Burrell and his men were dead. He turned to Ellen, kissed her, and said it was their final goodbye. Confused, she asked what he meant. Gabriel suddenly opened the car door and threw her out onto the road, then sped off toward the border. Ray chased after him. Ray and Gabriel raced head-to-head, slamming into each other's cars as they tore through a field of corn. Ray pushed hard to slow him down, but Gabriel kept accelerating. Ray tried to fire, yet Gabriel suddenly stopped and shifted his position. They continued plowing through the cornfield, engines screaming, until Ray forced Gabriel to veer off course. As they sped forward, a tractor appeared in their path. Gabriel's car slammed into it and crashed. Gabriel crawled out of his wrecked car and staggered through the cornfield. He finally spotted the bridge and ran toward it, only to find Ray standing in the middle of the bridge, blocking his path. Gabriel asked Ray to let him pass, arguing that millions crossed the border every day and letting one more through would not matter. Ray refused. Gabriel then called his personal banker and told Ray to give him an account number. He promised to make him $5 million richer. Ray calmly pulled out a pair of handcuffs. Gabriel raised the offer to $10 million and said they could walk away as friends and end it there. Ray threw him the cuffs. Gabriel refused, saying he would never be a prisoner again. The two men lunged at each other and the fight began. Ray and Gabriel clashed in a brutal fight, trading fast and heavy blows. Gabriel grabbed Ray's arm and overpowered him. Ray fought back, lifted Gabriel, and slammed him hard into the ground. As Gabriel lay still, Ray dragged him across the ground. Suddenly, Gabriel regained consciousness and drove a knife into Ray's leg. Ray took several hard hits, but somehow managed to pull the knife from his leg. He drove it into Gabriel's leg in return. Ray kept striking him until Gabriel realized he was losing. Desperate, Gabriel offered Ray $20 million. Ray refused and told him he would never let him go. Gabriel grew furious, then fell silent, staring across Mexico just a short distance away.
You are under arrest.
Soon, the FBI arrived and asked Sarah and Frank what had happened and where Gabriel was. Sarah explained that the sheriff had gone after him and said she was more worried about Ray than Gabriel.
So what happened here? Where's Cortez?
The sheriff went after him. I'm more concerned about him right now than I am about Cortez.
Moments later, Ray drove toward them with Gabriel tied to the back of his car. John was stunned, then relieved to see Gabriel alive and back in custody. The FBI took Gabriel away. John thanked Ray for his work. Moments later, Ellen approached John and said she was relieved to see him. She apologized for the mistake she had made. John told her he was glad she was alive, then immediately placed her under arrest.
It caused me the satisfaction of being able to arrest you.
He told her she was the imposter agent and had taken money from Gabriel. Later, John went to Ray in person and thanked him for his service. He told Ray that he was a good lawman. Ray accepted the praise and said this was his home and he would protect it.
This is my home. Impressive.
Frank, Sarah, and Ray then walked into the diner together, knowing the danger had finally passed.